you're feeling brain fogged, weight gain, mood swings, hot flashes, night sweats, you're not alone. And particularly if you're listening to this and you happen to be over 45, we would almost anticipate that the majority of women actually would be feeling those symptoms. Some of us are outliers and maybe we got heart palpitations or insomnia instead of hot flashes. However, the majority of women um, are experiencing something by that time. But the recent study showed that over 20% of women under the age of 46 have already consulted a doctor about perimenopausal symptoms, and many feel like they're still not getting answers. So that tells us that perimenopause is still widely misunderstood, and nearly every woman is going to be affected by some symptoms. None of us get a pass. We all do 100% on the full-on menopause experience. Nobody gets to go through that without that. However, what we're starting to see is that those symptoms, and they're oftentimes very classic menopausal symptoms, are showing up in women in their 30s, right? Mid to early 30s, and last anywhere from 5 to 10 years. But in many women, it could easily be 15 years, long before they actually see the menstrual irregularities that many people assume are part of the experience. So here's what the study showed. Hot flashes and night sweats. About 75% of women experience that because the hypothalamus, which is the thermostatic controller for the body, is controlled by estrogen. And when estrogen starts to drop, that control of the thermostat starts to go awry. Now, mood swings. Estrogen also helps modulate serotonin and dopamine, which are our major motivators and sort of happy kumbaya neurotransmitters. And then progesterone regulates and helps the receptors work better for GABA, which is our natural Xanax. And so therefore, when those start to fluctuate in perimenopause, we're going to see mood swings, and we're going to see mood stability kind of go out the window. And depending on what study you look at, it's like 3 out of 5 people get anxiety, 2 out of 4 have depression. So you've got these very high numbers of very common mood swings. Weight gain and metabolic changes, we talk about that a lot. And we also see progesterone levels declining, and we start to see insomnia and difficulty staying asleep. And then if you have hot flashes or night sweats, that makes it worse, but those are not the only cause. And probably the most scary is the brain fog and forgetfulness that women experience. And when our estrogen levels drop, that becomes hard for us to remember things like concentrating or remember why we walked into a room. Now, if we're experiencing that, that's pretty interesting. However, so let's talk a little bit about the actual study. So this study looked at 4,432 women. The age range was 30 years and older, so 30 years and older. And the goal of this study was to assess the prevalence and severity of symptoms and healthcare seeking behavior among women experiencing perimenopause symptoms. So the consultation rate. So let's talk about how many actually went and tried to get consultations. So 20.7%, so 908 women reported consulting with a healthcare provider about perimenopause and menopause. 275 women, 30.3% of those who consulted a doctor, were actually under the age of 46, which means they were younger than the expected age range that we would see perimenopausal symptoms. When we look at the 30 to 35-year-olds, it was 4.3% had consulted a doctor. 36 to 40-year-olds, 8.1 or 8.0%. 41 to 45, it goes up to 16.5, which now starts to make sense. The 46 to 50 goes up to 36.2, and then the 51 to 55, where everything really comes to a head for the average woman, was 48.7. And then when you look at the women 56 years of age or older, 51.5%. So this is a significant issue because women are basically repeatedly having to go to medical providers to get assistance because they are not getting the right assistance for their hormone balancing issues.